Hello and good morning, friends of Sudoku. Today is June 26, 2023, and we are facing the New York Times Hard Sudoku of today. I thought I'd try something else today. I thought that I would give you a chance to figure out the next digit while I'm thinking about it as well. So if I think I know where the digit is going to go, I will ask you to see if you can find it. That way we can all have some fun and it won't be so unilateral. So first of all, can you find an 8? And I will help you a little. It has to go in the most left chute of this grid. See, that wasn't difficult, was it? These two 8s blocked down, so here's an 8. Now we need to find a 1 in the same chute, in the same vertical leftmost chute. That's also pretty easy, isn't it? We have a 1 blocking up and 1 blocking down, and this 1 blocks across. So here's a 1. And now we need a 3. See if you can find a 3. There are only 2 given 3s in the grid. So it shouldn't be that hard to figure out that this 3 blocks here, this 3 blocks here. So here's a 3. And the last 2 digits for box number 7 should be equally easy because this 6 blocks here. So here must go a 4 and here must go a 6. While we are contemplating the next number, I'm seeing the 7 blocking across and up. One of these is a 7. Therefore, 7 must go here or here. An 8 must go up here somewhere. A 9 here or here, and therefore here or here. We got 6 here or here, and we have a 1 in one of these 2 squares. We have a 9 in one of these 2 squares here, and 8 must go here or here. We have a 1 and a 9 in these 2 squares, because this 1 and this 1 block these squares here. This one blocks this square. So we are left with only these 2 squares for a 1. The 9 blocks across here. This 9 blocks up, so one of these is a 9. Therefore, these squares are all blocked by 9s, and this square is blocked by this 9. So we got 1 and a 9 here. And that tells us that since this 6 blocks here, this 6 blocks here, one of these is going to be a 6. And therefore, a 6 is going to go in one of these 2 squares here. Now, all that being said, can you find a 3? I will say as much as it has to go in row 5. Bearing in mind that these 2 squares must be a 1 and a 9. The way we find this is by a simple count. 1 and a 9 here. We are still missing in the row a 3, 5, 6, 7. Now there's a 5, 6, 7 all blocking this square. Therefore, this is where the 3 goes. Now, this 3 blocks across here, this 3 blocks up, so one of these is a 3. Since we now have blocked all of these squares with 3s, and all of these squares are blocked by this 3 and this 3 blocks here, we know that this square must be a 3. Now I want you to think about a 2. And let's say as much as the 2 must go in column 6. Can you see it? We need a 1, 2, 4, 8 to complete this column 6. There's a 1, 4, 8 already blocking the square, which therefore must be a 2. So these squares now must be a 1, 4, and an 8. And look at these 2 numbers. they put an 8 here. And now it's easy to find an 8 for column 4 because this 8 blocks here and here, this 8 blocks here and here. These two 8s block these two squares. So here's the 8. Here now we are looking for a 1 and a 4. And we can't really solve it yet. But we can find a 2 for row 7, can't we? And it's easy because there's a 2 blocks here. So here's a 2. And the last digit for this row must be a 5. Let's have a look at the 5, 7 here. Clearly, these squares can't be 5, 7, so we need to find a 5 and a 7 for these two squares. Isn't that true? And since we have this 9 blocking across, we know that one of these had to be a 9, and now we know also that one of these must be a 5 and the other must be a 7. And that puts a 9 in this square. Now we got 5 and 7 in these two squares. And since these are 5 and 7, these have to be a 9, 4, and a 6. And we also know that we said earlier that these two squares had to be a 1 and a 4 pair. So now that we know that a 4 must go in one of these squares, that means that this must be the 1 and this must be the 4. And now I think you can easily find the 1 for the upper chute. That's right, we got a couple of 1s blocking across, 1 blocking up, here's a 1. I'm sure you remember the 1-9 pair we had, and the 1-9 pair went here, right? Now the 1 blocks down, so here's the 9, here's the 1. And now you can find a 9 for the rightmost chute, and it has to go in column 8. We got a couple of 9s blocking down here. This 9 blocks across, so here's a 9. The puzzle is slowly coming together, isn't it? A 2 now for the 8th row. Clearly this 2 blocks here, this 2 blocks here, so here's a 2. And now we have a 2 for one of these squares up here. This square can only be what? You guessed it, a 1, because this 1 blocks this square, which therefore is a 7. Now we have a 7 blocking up here and 7 blocking over here, so one of these two must be a 7 blocking down. This 7 blocks up, so one of these is going to be a 7. Which one? We don't know yet. These are 5 and 7 though. We also have 5 and 7 here, remember? And that leaves only 2 squares to sort out, and they must be a 6 and a 2. And they will have to wait a little because I can't tell yet which one goes where. Let's have a look at column 7. We need to find a 6, 8, 3, and a 4. We got a 6 and an 8 already in this box here, so this must be a 3 and a 4. And 6 and 8 must go here and here. Do you remember what we said earlier about the 7s in the top chute? Now you can place a 7 quite easily. I'll repeat that this 7 blocks across here, this blocks up. One of these is a 7 blocking across. We now have this 7 blocking across and this blocking up. And therefore this must be a 7. And that leaves only one square in box 3 for a 2, doesn't it? Because now we take away this square and we have this 2 blocking here and this 2 blocking here and here. So here's a 2. Now we know where the 5 goes in the same block because the 5 blocks up here. So here's a 5. And we are back to our 4 and 3 here. and still looking for a 6 and an 8 for these two squares. But now these three squares get cleared up a little. We need to find a 4, 7, and an 8, and we have a 4 and an 8 in the row. So here's a 7. And a 5 must go here or here, and therefore a 5 must go in one of these squares. Let me repeat that. This 5 blocks down, this 5 blocks up, so 5 must go here or here, but we still need a 5 for row 5. And this 5 blocks here. Therefore, this square can only be a 5. And that, of course, gives us a 5 for column 2, because we got a couple of 5s blocking up. And this 5 blocking across here. So here's a 5. And now we know what goes in these two squares, don't we? Because we still need a 7, and it certainly can't go here because of this 7. And a 4. And we can also sort out some of these squares here. The 4 blocks up, so here's a 4. There's 3 blocks across, so here's a 3. And here's a 6. Remember how these squares were a 5 and a 7? Now the 7 takes away this square from the pair, so here's a 5, here's a 7, and here's a 7, and here's a 5. We need a 7 and a 9 for column 3, don't we? And this 7 blocks across, so here's a 9, here's a 7. Now we can easily fill out the rest of the grid. Here's a 9 blocking across and up. 9 must go here. Here we're looking for a 4 and a 3, 4 and a 3, 4 and a 3, but the 4 blocks up, so the 3 is forced here, and here's a 4. The 3 blocks across, this 3 blocks up, here's a 3. And we know from earlier that this must be a 2, which blocks across here, so another 2 goes here, and this square is reserved for the 6. And that makes this square 6 as well, and this, of course, now must be a 4. This also must be a 4. And that gives us a 4 for this square. This 8 blocks down, so here's an 8. And this square must be a 6. And that makes this square 6 as well. This must be an 8, and this must be a 5. And that is one solution path to today's puzzle. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll come back for more soon. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.